Thank you all for submitting your questions for the Mentor Mom panel. We really appreciate all the time that you took and the vulnerability and putting down those questions in print. We had so many that we could only choose a handful of questions to address tonight. However, we really encourage you to take your questions to your Mentor Mom individually, or to one of us on steering, or to Laura Ankrum, because we really want you to get an answer if you have a pressing issue that you want addressed. We also will be submitting some of these questions to the pastors at the church for answers, as well as addressing them in future meetings. So thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And I think we should go around and introduce ourselves first before we get started. So we'll start with you, Nikki.
Great. I'm Nikki Clan, and I am a Tuesday night mentor mom.
I'm Julie Dixon. I'm on Monday morning, and I have 3 kids, and they're all in their 20s.
I'm Gretchen McDaniel, and I'm Monday mornings.
Terry Mitchell, and I'm on steering on Monday mornings.
I'm Kristen Hornicle, and I'm Tuesday evening.
Anne-Marie Pernay, and Tuesday evening.
Kelly Rush, Monday morning.
Terry Moorhead, Monday morning.
Marlon Stombaugh, Monday morning.
All right, our first question is, what is your key to marriage success?
It starts big.
Well,
Yes, please.
I think we all saw this last week with Kristen and Dave's presentation on guarding our marriages. To love for the husband to love his wife as Christ loves the church, and for the wife to respect her husband. And that's pretty important. If he doesn't have your respect, he won't feel like, loving you as Christ loves all of us. So I thought, when I read the questions, I thought that jumped out at me. We just heard him, that presentation, and it was very meaningful.
That's so true.
I think also just remembering that you're on the same team, like you're the home team, so whenever I'm trying to go against my husband or mad at him about something, I have to take myself back and be like, we're a team. If I win, that means he's a loser, and I don't want to live with a loser.
Something else that I think is important, and it can sound so frivolous, but I think you have to have fun. And fun just feeds this idea that you want to spend time together. And you can have fun from the time you're dating and all throughout marriage, and sometimes it changes. Your tastes and interests change, but as long as you're having fun, it helps you get through those tough times.
Never stop dating.
That's
Absolutely.
That's a good advice.
Schedule it.
Dated once a week.
Oh, that's
Not fail.
And I think going off of what you said, Kristen, I think always assuming the best. So, if I've asked Rob to do something and he's not doing it, my natural inclination might be to think, oh, well, he is not doing it because he hates me. But instead, let's think a little extreme. Right. But let's think the best. He's probably not doing it because either A, I didn't properly communicate that I wanted that done, or just to always think the best of his intentions too.
That's good advice. I also think I struggled with this as a young mom. I put my kids before my husband, and I think that was a big mistake. And so I would say marriage success is putting your husband first. As much as your kids need you, your husband should always come first.
Exactly. Good point.
Be quick to forgive.
I was just gonna say grace. Yes.
Be really quick to forgive. Don't hold a grudge. It will, that's devastating, and just even in the day in and day out stuff, you just have to either let stuff roll off your back, small things, and just keep going. Like you said, have fun, think of something else and keep on moving, and deal with the big issues as they come up, but be forgiving.
My granddaughter's getting married next Saturday, and she wanted marital advice. Everybody, and I just rack my brain on what could I possibly tell this young girl, And so I just went to the scriptures and I took that verse out of I thought it was in Ephesians, but it's in Galatians. Be tenderhearted, So I just wrote to her, to be kind, especially with your words, and to be forgiving as Christ forgave you. And the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13,
Right.
4-8. We really need to, above respect, we need to forgive each other and be kind to each other. And like you say, you won't have, when you're okay, what kind words can I say today?
Or just not say any mean
Or
words.
don't say anything.
Equally as important. And usually opposites attract. So
That's true.
Yeah.
So you're true.
opposites attract.
What do you wish you knew then that you know now related to motherhood and marriage?
Don't sweat
Takers.
Don't sweat don't sweat
I was gonna say it's all small stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's be in the moment and enjoy the season that you're in.
I know they're gonna hate hearing this, and I'm so sorry to say it, but it goes by really, really fast. I know the days are excruciatingly long, and you just threw something at me right now, but it really does go by fast. And like you said, you realize that those things that you were so upset about, those behaviors or those, whatever, that messy house or the spot on the wall, you were so upset about at the time means nothing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
And, just to take those moments and try to take a deep breath and just, remember it really does go by fast.
Right. And I was so impatient at times.
Oh,
And now when
absolutely.
I'm watching other kids that aren't my own, I have so much more patience with them. And I wish that I would have had the patience
I
with my
agree.
own kids.
My stepchildren are much younger than my kids, and our youngest, when she was younger, she came down, bouncing down, totally not matching at all to go to service. And my husband's like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "You know what? She's happy to go." I would never have said that with my own kids when they were small. They would have had to have been, you need to look nice, you need to match. And I'm like, look at her, she's happy, she's thrilled, she picked it out, let's go.
That's so true.
It's a different, it's what's important. That's not that she's happy, that's important.
Looking at the whole picture,
Yeah.
not just.
And I would say, just remember, the results are just little steps. A little bit of this each day adds up. And you almost feel like, oh, what I'm doing is not important. And it's not going to, where's the fruit going to be? The fruit will come if you're, just consistent. And you can pray on the fly. You need to pray on the fly.
Yes, exactly.
God hears those prayers as much as he hears your prayers when you're on your knees.
That's exactly right.
Stay in touch.
Doesn't matter if you're in the car saying, please don't let me kill them from arguing back there.
Train them in good habits from the time they're young, like stuff that you want them to have for later. I feel like that's something that I wish I would have known as a young, just starting out mom, to work on just the habits that you want them to have, like the habit training of all sorts of things that you want them.
Like characters.
Yeah.
Being honest or
Well, I think, just more like when you get up, you make your bed. Just little, I'm talking about
that
not
too,
even
when it
character
goes out the
stuff, because
window.
I feel like so often we're doing okay on some character things, but close all the drawers in the dresser, right? Just stuff that you can, I feel like when you start doing those things when they're little, keeping a tidy room and keeping things neat, not that it matters, because those are all small things not to sweat, but just habits from the time they're young, just as just automatic, just that you go through life like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, then they get older and then they make their own minds when they move.
this is totally true.
I'd say one thing too for me, I wish I had included my husband more. Like, I sort of
yes.
feel like, so I'm the mom, and the mom, I'm more experienced, or whatever. Like, I remember the
doing
first
his
weekend.
job, and this is my
that's how I
job.
felt.
Yeah, and I just didn't include him as much, especially when they were little. And one weekend I went away to do scrapbooking, and guess what? They lived. I came home, they had eaten whatever they ate, mac and cheese, and they had so much fun with him.
Oh,
You know, and I was just like, thank goodness it happened when they were like 4. And I thought, I gotta let go a little bit. So they can have more just dad time, which is different than mom time.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's different
Good
of
advice.
having mom in the other room time
Yeah,
too.
right.
Just that total dad time.
That's when Viking night would happen at my house. With Dad. But he cleaned it up, so.
We're gonna have to hear more about
What's Viking? I feel like what's Viking night is on my list of questions.
Viking night is when you use no utensils.
Oh, that's fun.
So
Oh
you
my
choose
gosh.
what that might
I
not
love
work
it.
out well with the instilling habits early. But
Yeah.
I'm all in. That's more like what we're actually doing on a daily basis. We need the habits. That's what I wish I would have known. I like baking.
That's not for spaghetti night.
I think that might
That would be fun. Just saying.
They always remember those things.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
really-
they're talking about around the Thanksgiving table when they're 30. Do you remember Viking night?
And then they'll all start eating with their hands.
I think the fun traditions are part of that. Like the stuff that that I wish we would have set like more things like that. That's
Well, the next question can be, what is your favorite family tradition that you would recommend to other families?
Viking night just
Viking
topped my
night.
list. Like teenagers, I might even go try that. They might like that.
I know one we did at Christmas that we started whenever our kids were really little, and it was purely selfishly motivated to get a little bit more sleep, but we would hide their stockings somewhere in their room. And so they were able to wake up whenever they wanted, and they knew they could open their stocking, enjoy some things in it. I usually had some kind of a breakfasty item in it, and then they could show each other, because I have 2 girls, and then they could bring all their stuff and jump on our beds.
That's
That
cute.
is cool. That would be fun.
Well, speaking of Christmas, we have a tradition that our dessert on Christmas is a birthday cake for Jesus.
Yes.
And so we always have a birthday cake for Jesus.
Yeah, we
For
do that
Christmas.
too. Because it is his birthday.
It
After
is.
all.
We get the gifts. It's his birthday.
That's right.
I think that sometimes traditions start without you even knowing it's going to become a tradition. And one year for Valentine's Day, I wanted to make something the shape of heart, ended up making homemade pizza, and now that is like such a tradition. And whenever they come home, we always have to make homemade pizza, and we have the pan, like we've got the big thing that you know, the big paddle, and we've got a steel plate, and it's really evolved. And
It's taken on a life of its own.
it is it's quite a tradition. Yeah, well, yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
One thing, this is not a family tradition, but I started when I found out I was pregnant with my first son and writing a journal to him. And so with each child, I started when I found out I was pregnant with them. So they each have a book. Now some of them have a couple books of handwritten letters to them from me. And so they're
That is
just
wonderful.
yeah, just saying how I was feeling, or if they were a toddler, what they were going through, or even now, you know, I have kids that are out of college and kind of, I keep writing to them. They ask me when they're getting them. I don't know yet. But they know they
When I
have
die,
a book.
that's when you get
Well, I said that, and they're like, please don't tell us that. So, I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to give them. Maybe.
Well, my hand gets too arthritic to write anymore.
But they're looking forward to reading those letters, and it's from my heart, and they'll have, you know, my handwriting and the keepsake. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's sweet.
It's a great tradition.
One day I just wanted to eat cake, so I went to Giant Eagle and I bought a cake, and my kids were like, "What is this for?" And I said, "It's Happy You're Awesome Day." So that became an annual tradition where one day a year it was just Your Awesome Day, and it started because I wanted to eat cake. It's usually in the spring, sometime between Easter and the end of school. Just pick a fun random day and get a cake, and it's Your Awesome Day. So
I like it.
That's awesome.
yeah, that's awesome. Happy Your Awesome Day.
Our favorite Christmas tradition is extended family, but you could do this with friends. This year is our 22nd year of our annual Christmas progressive dinner. And it is like the kids are coming, I mean, they're like in their 30s and 20s now, but I mean, they will come for that and might not come on Christmas Day. It's that important. And it's always the Sunday before Christmas. And we have 5 homes. We all live within 10 minutes of each other. So it's possible to, hit all 5 homes. And now they are one of the hosts, the cousins, we call them the cousins, are hosting, and they're in charge of one of the entrees. A few years ago, they did pickle soup for the entree for soup and salad. So you never know what you're going to get.
But explain
it's wonderful.
what progressive dinner means, actually.
Oh.
Okay,
so there's so we have 5 stops, 5 different homes. And so the first stop is appetizers, then soup, then salad, then entree, then dessert. And we get in cars and we go to the first house, eat, leave all the dishes, get back in the car, go to the second house. And so it's a whole evening. And it's so much fun. In fact, we now have started one. We do it in the summer because it's totally different. And we play yard games at one house, and we've adjusted it. But it's just a great way to be together and see each other's homes. Feel like you could do it with your group. You could do it with your moms together group. So it's a favorite.
We do an Advent, we read a Bible verse every day for all of December, leading towards, all through the Old Testament, and reading the scripture that prophesies Jesus coming, and work on that. And every night, and obviously the way to get everybody downstairs to do that is to give them a treat of some sort. So we have bags hung up, and every night there's a treat for everybody in the bag, whether it's socks, or one night it's a gift certificate that we're gonna go get ice cream, or look at Christmas lights together, or something like that, and read that together. And so, I mean, like I said, I even have teenagers now, and they still are looking forward to it. So it's good to get everybody together like that.
All right. How do you control your emotions when you are an exhausted mom?
Give myself a timeout. It's okay to go in your room, make sure your kids are safe in front of a video, what have you, but having that mom time, because whether it's in my own room or a night away or just going over to a friend's house, just having that individual time, you come back as a better mom, wife, friend, everything. So whatever it is, whatever extent, weekend, evening, or afternoon, just take that time for yourself, because it affects everybody.
I think your ability to say you're sorry, too, if you know you've lost your stuff and you need to say you're sorry. And it also teaches them that they need to say they're sorry.
Yes, because we are not perfect.
No.
Nobody is.
We can model that.
I think it helps to have a friend that you can just say, and they'll go right back.
Or go, together.
I think that's why we have girlfriends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We need each other.
Absolutely.
I think 2 things. One is I can remember there were days having 4 kids under 4 that I literally would just pray God, please help me to make it through the next 30 minutes
Yes.
without losing my mind. And then literally 30 minutes later, I'd be like, God, please help me make it through the next 30 minutes without losing my mind. And some days are just like that, where you really need to cling to God and ask for the strength. And, you know, then use your girlfriends, everything else too. And the other thing is, you know, God did give physicians wonderful tools to help with emotions. So, you know, there are pharmaceuticals that can help with that. And I think especially when you're in childbearing age and hormones are all over the place, that if you're finding you're having trouble really controlling your emotions, that you know, should probably talk to your doctor if any of those would be, you know, something that would work for you.
And don't be embarrassed by that.
Don't be embarrassed about it, yeah.
Don't be afraid to go to your doctor and sit there and cry and say, I can't keep it together. I'm really on edge.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be afraid. And don't let people tell you that you're a Christian, you shouldn't have medication.
I mean, there were definitely times that I had to use, you know, that I don't want to say had to, that I benefited from using, you know, medication to help, you know, keep my emotions in check, and, you know, my kids were better off for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Or seek counseling. Don't be afraid of that
Yes,
either.
yes, exactly.
Because you can sense if something's like, if it's right, like ask counsel of a friend if what you're dealing with is sort of like, it's sort of an
Different.
irrational
Yeah.
sort of upset, where you're upset about really things that may not be such a big deal, or if it's just normal that you're tired, right? Like you ask your husband, like, hey, am I, you know, is this out of bounds with what's going on? Am I reacting in a way that, you know, I'm just exhausted? So that you do have that, right? That just you can bounce that idea off somebody and see how reasonable it is. And when it's out, you know, when it's irrational, when it's unreasonable, you definitely need help. It's
Because
so
if you're
hard.
putting too much pressure on yourself, then, you know, like, is this okay the way I'm acting? Yeah, it's normal. It's okay. You're all right. And just putting that pressure of, am I doing everything all right? Am I being enough?
And getting your husband involved, you know, with helping when you are feeling out of control then too. You know, and escaping for a little bit, even if it's a few minutes, so you can calm down.
So here's confession. I wrote a resignation letter. And it was a page and a half. And it's funny.
You mean from your family?
Yeah, I resigned from your mom. And I think it partly had to do with the messy rooms that were just, you know, exploding. But the husband part, because my husband totally supported me in this. And we had a family meeting, which then years later my kids were like, Mom, family meetings always happened on a Sunday. So I don't know why, but Sunday afternoons were my day where I guess I would occasionally have to do things and have meetings. And the one year I just was like, I'm done. I am not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. This is Mother's resignation letter. I read it out loud, word for word, gave each child a copy, and John signed it as well. And actually, I was going through Daniel's shelves like about a year ago. He's 22. He still has the letter.
Oh my gosh.
So there are moments when you do things like that.
That is so
When my kids got
That's good.
old enough to be left without always being attended to, one of my releases was the treadmill. And I would say, you know what? If I don't see blood, I don't want to see you. So mommy needs her 15 minutes, leave me alone. And that's how I kind of let it out. You know, and they learned. Don't come, because I'm not helping you. I'm not opening up that peanut butter jar for you. Go away.
It'll be there.
Wait for 20 minutes.
That's right. Put me on the treadmill. I need it.
So how do you eat healthy when you are constantly stressed?
Don't bring the bad stuff in.
That's so true.
Except for on your awesome day.
Yeah, just your awesome day is fine.
You get cake that day. If you try to just have healthy snacks available, you don't have much else to choose from.
Yeah, that is so true.
I think thinking ahead and preparing too.
Yes.
Because I would always grab anything that was easy to get my hands on, whether
Yeah.
it was on the counter, in the fridge, in the pantry. So if you think ahead and chop those, veggies or whatever ahead of time, so you don't have to think about going in the fridge and making yourself a salad. Like now I don't even have little kids, but I make my salad and put it in a mason jar. So when I'm hungry, I just grab the mason jar. My salad's already made.
You learned your habit.
Yeah, so it just helps to think ahead and prepare the healthy snacks.
I like the single serving thing. So instead of whatever your
Absolutely.
kids snack on the goldfish, don't buy that big tub of goldfish. Buy the little single serving pack of goldfish. It's good for them to learn portion control. It's good for me too to have it. Yeah.
And maybe treat yourself occasionally.
Oh.
Like
You're awesome, Jake, and have it more than once a year.
Absolutely. My daughter used to get me Reese's cups because I'm a big chocolate peanut butter holic. But she would put signs on when I could have. So I'd open the refrigerator and I'd see
Not
a day
yet,
or
Mom.
a day.
Not yet.
That one I could have, but that one I couldn't,
Not yet, Mom. Just wait.
That's restraint.
That is.
I might have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
That's good discipline. Yeah, don't grocery shop hungry, right?
Yes.
Like eat like a solid, healthy meal with a lot of protein before you go to the grocery store. Don't take starving children to the grocery store because that totally screws up your shopping. So then whatever you have in the house is
Because then you're
different
just throwing
than what.
stuff in the cart
Yeah.
just to get out of there.
Yeah, but like definitely add some snacks into the cart. I feel like because then you don't want to like be angry with yourself for having nothing in the house
Like
that
that
would be a
meme,
treat.
like
You know.
Healthy Me did the grocery shopping.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
I think
I
that's
was
important.
awesome enough to grocery shop and have a cake.
I think super smart. Be prepared to make stuff in advance and eat a lot of protein because it keeps you from getting hungry.
Yeah, I like the protein shakes. I like those Orgain ones, the pre-made ones. If you're really stressed and don't have time to put the mason jars in your freezer and you're just not that kind of person, try to
What
find
kind? What are they?
Orgain.
Okay.
They have plant protein, milk protein. I mean, there's a lot of even ready-made, healthier things that you can have. And when you're on the go and don't have time to sit down, they're shelf stable. You can have them in your glove box.
That's a great idea.
That's key is bringing snacks with me because if I'm out and I'm hungry, then I'm going through a drive-through and that's not healthy. So sometimes I'll just bring a banana and have it like in my car or a piece of fruit just so if I get that urge to eat, it's healthy.
Drink a lot of water. Like stay hydrated, right? They say sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're actually really thirsty. So just ways to.
And I think realizing too that like you are in a stressful time of your life, so even your best laid plans are sometimes going to go awry, and you're going to find yourself face first in a pan of brownies. And don't get stressed out about being face first now in the pan of brownies. Just move on.
That's right.
Move on with the next meal.
That's over.
It's
So
over.
We're done.
Yeah. So don't like let that add to your stress. I mean, it's just accept that that's going to be something that happens on occasion and move on.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, tips for balancing play and enjoying your kids versus your to-do list of chores and cleaning and work, etc.
So I had, when my kids were older, actually when my kids were little, I tried to have them help me with things because it has to get done. Like we have to make dinner. We have to do laundry. I mean, that's not like a choice. That's something that has to be done. And so including them in that. But then I also had team assignments. And that was, laminated. Everybody knew what their team assignment was because I'm like, listen, we are a team. And if we want to have fun and play, we also have to get our work done. So if we don't get our work done, we don't get to play.
So
These are the habits, by the way.
yeah.
Stop right here.
I knew
Yeah.
team assignment.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's what I wish I would have known.
Yeah. So they weren't chores; they were like team assignments.
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
They always knew what was expected.
It's my kids were the same way.
And everybody did their little thing and the whole house was always presentable.
Did you rotate chores for
Yes,
everybody?
we did.
And have like a chart or like a little just.
Yeah, this
How
really
that
just
work?
happened over the summer. In the winter, they were expected to keep up their room and help set the table and that sort of thing. But in the summer, they were actually assigned a room to clean. And they'd have all week to clean it, you know. And so they might have to do that room twice over the summer, you know. But the house was always clean because they wouldn't mess up somebody else's room because then they would mess up their room, you know.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
There you go.
So
We're gonna take notes.
They had 7 days to do that chore for the week, and then they, you know, we had a pool, so they had all their friends over, and they enjoyed the summer, but yet they still had their responsibilities done. So yeah, we did the same thing pretty much.
And it's important to teach them responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it did. It didn't cure some of the messies.
Oh, no.
No, they still had their messies, yeah. Just shut the bedroom door, you know.
Absolutely. That's why God made doors.
That's why
Shut that door.
I think
Exactly.
some people by nature are better organizational people, you know, kids than others. Because, you know, adults, some are better at organizing than others. And
we were very
It's-
organized. House.
yeah, but it's not everybody's room. I mean, it's going to be like as perfect
Oh,
as
no.
their assigned area.
Right.
Because, you know, it's especially boys, some of them, it's hard, that multitasking, you know, you have to break it up.
My
into little
25-year-old daughter is a slob.
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah.
Like,
Just the way they are.
Love them the way they are.
Exactly.
But then also not being super hard on yourself. I mean, as far as expectations, sometimes the house isn't going to be perfect because of the situation of your younger kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't get wrapped up in like the Instagram idea that like things have to be like bright and
Perfect.
white and coordinated and neat like
Yeah.
all the time because it just like you underestimate the amount of stuff that's shoved behind the camera when they took that photo. Like, you know, if they want to take a picture of, you know, like one room, they move all the stuff out of the way to the other room. When they want to take a picture of the other room, they move all the stuff. It's like the tide, you know, like coming back and forth. And if we keep that in mind, I think it makes, well, that helps me anyway. That, like you have to balance it, but don't get too wrapped up in
Perfection.
yeah. The reality is you live in the house.
That's correct.
And if you live there,
And your
then you
pets and your kids and yeah, I mean that adds a whole nother layer.
It's so true. It's so true.
But the team and the family emphasis was what
Yes.
basically we're shooting for. We're all
And
together in this.
even when they're little,
Yeah.
they can help
yeah.
clean up their
They can
toys.
do
It's
lots
like,
of
come
things.
on, let's help mommy, let's put the books back on the, you know, the shelf or whatever, you know. And they kind of enjoy it when they're little.
They do.
They do. Make it a
Yeah.
game.
You know?
It's when they're
I'm gonna put on a
It's high school
song, and by
friends,
the time
they
the
like-
song's over, let's see if we can have all the toys picked up.
We used to use
You
a
know?
timer. So
Yeah.
Timers for
How long do
everything.
you think it'll take to do this? Oh, maybe 15 minutes, so we'd set the timer and see how it worked. Yeah. So they have incentive and goal. I love being a mom. Giving all the orders.
We're gonna create a space. You can move in and help me. All the advice we can get, even now.
So this is along the same lines, but how do you share household responsibilities more specifically like with your husband?
What I thought about that one is everyone has gifts. And if your husband's gift is he's a great duster, let him dust. If he doesn't move items and dust, then that's not his gift. Then he can, you know,
Or does it matter?
or doesn't matter. But you know what I'm saying? that everybody has an ability. If they like to pay the bills and you clean, pay the bills. You work, you do all that. Everybody has a gift. And you just have to kind of figure out what number one you like to do or are better at.
I know, like for my husband, like he wouldn't mind folding a basket of laundry while he's watching TV. He's like, I can do this. I can do this while I'm watching TV. It doesn't bother me. So.
I always like to give my husband options. Like, do you want to give the kids a bath or do you want to empty the dishwasher? And then he would choose one. So he's helping me, but I'm not ordering him to do something.
Do this, do that.
I would never call out orders, but he figured out that, you know, giving him an option, he has to do one. So there has to be one thing he does. He doesn't just get to sit on the couch.
Or behind door
Right,
number 2.
exactly. That was my strategy. I would get him up and moving instead of on the couch, and I would get something done, but he would have a choice in the matter.
I think that's a great idea.
And I think explaining, like Rob and I are a meme, you know, our whole house will be just trashed and we'll be having people coming over and he'll be like cleaning out and organizing the pantry, which we don't need done right now. So I think
But that's what he likes to do.
it is, he's very good. I mean, our pantry, top notch. But people can't walk through the house. So look at the pantry. But I do think, like, speaking, again, going back to what I said earlier about just having, you know, the understanding of he has the best intentions. He's not cleaning the pantry because he wants to make me angry. He's cleaning the pantry because that's what he's good at, and he thinks he's helping. So I think being very vocal and direct about what kind of help he can provide in a situation is really important too. But as far as like what regular tasks we do, we have kind of looked at, you know, if there's certain things that I hate, he kind of takes care of the certain things he hates, I take care of. And, you know, like you said, what we're good at.
I think that you can't have unrealistic or secret expectations.
Right. Yeah.
Like, in your head, well, why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do this? Why can't see that needs to be folded? Why didn't he just do it? Yeah, sometimes they just don't know.
Yeah, sometimes they
Sometimes
just don't legitimately don't.
Yeah. So, but
You've always
I
done
did.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. If you would either empty the dishwasher or wash the kids, it would really be a great help.
Yeah.
Use your voice.
Definitely.
As you tell your children all the time, use your voice.
Yep.
Use your words.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, for sure. Use your words.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that he did it.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Absolutely.
to recognize it. Like, we all want sort of a pat on the back.
Every now
And
and again.
when you're mom, you don't
absolutely.
get too many of those. You know, you're doing so many things, and I think we like it. He likes it. Thank you. You know,
And
that
so
was
do our
awesome.
kids.
You
Our
did a
kids
great
do
job.
too, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
I found the more I did that, the more I got.
Yeah, for sure. And I think sometimes, I mean, I hear this in mom talk that we can get resentful, like, oh, thank you, you took out the trash and you're out of the house, right? But I do think that is like, it's super important. It goes back to that respect piece. And like you said, the more you say thank you, sometimes the more you get. And it really does mean a lot, at least to my husband and probably everybody's husband, to really hear that, you know, thank you. Thank you for taking out the trash. That I hate doing it and you did it. Thank you.
Everybody needs that encouragement.
Yeah.
That's right.
Even if it, like you said, even if it feels patronizing.
Right.
Say it.
Even if
Everybody
you're like,
needs it.
oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But but
But the more you sincerely appreciate it
Yeah.
it might feel odd at first, but the more you do
Yeah.
it just becomes a lot more natural.
Right. And I find the more I do it, the more he does it. Too.
Right.
So if I'm very thankful, he all of a sudden is also very thankful that I emptied
Isn't
the
that
dishwasher in my
amazing?
own
It's
house.
amazing
Yeah.
how that works, isn't
Yeah.
And in your meme head, you're thinking, ha, yep,
Yeah.
got it.
Did we want to address the working mom question? Did we have someone?
I think the mom
Okay.
guilt one, right?
So how do you not feel guilty about not being a stay-at-home mom?
I don't know if you do.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
it.
know if you do.
I don't think you ever get unguilty of that.
Yeah. I mean, there are things definitely that I missed. I worked from the time my triplets were 8 months old. I've always worked. I took 8 months off, and then that was it. It was just something that I felt like I needed for me to be out working. I enjoyed contributing to the household income, and I enjoyed having, kind of that mental stimulation was important for me. Through the years, there have been things that I've missed, and it's been, there's guilt there, and I don't know, if that ever goes away. But now that my kids are older, I can say that I see traits in my children in their work product that make me very proud. That I know that they got from me. I know that they value their work. But I see my daughter starting her career as an attorney. Walking into a room full of men and being confident, and I see her also saying, I'm not going to join the rat race. I'm going to have a balance, and I'm only going to work the hours that I'm paid for, and then the other hours I'm going to enjoy my life. And I'm proud of that. And so I think that's because she saw me working, and so that kind of helps with the things that I've missed along the way.
I never wanted to work, but I had to help support the family. So I just made sure I was at everything that I could be at. And to this day, I felt guilty that I wasn't able to be at everything. And my kids were like, what are you talking about? You were like at every swim meet. You were like at every soccer game. I know that I wasn't.
Right, yeah.
But they remember because the overwhelming number of things, I was there, I was involved. So those few things that I didn't get to go to, I kick myself. They don't even remember.
That's beautiful.
But again, good work ethic. But I think even if you don't work outside the home, you can teach your kids good work ethics.
For sure.
I'm glad my kids.
But like we said before, I think whether you work at home, I mean, there is another set of responsibilities when you work outside the home, I think. But I think for the work outside the home moms, realize that all moms, I think, feel that sense of guilt and not being enough. And so you do have that camaraderie with the other moms that maybe you think you don't have, but that's just, I think, the general motherhood, overarching theme of motherhood.
It's just in the job criteria. You must feel guilt.
Yeah. I mean, you have that extra layer of, I'm also not doing enough at work. There's also that too. Like, I'm not enough at work because I have to go to my kid's sick or whatever. But I just think that's a general overarching motherhood theme.
It's a season.
Yeah.
And it all gets better as long as you just, keep on loving them and keep on spending time with them, and it all works out.
My parents both worked full-time my entire life. And I remember my mom went back to college. She worked full-time, and she went back to college when I was in 6th grade. And did it by correspondence because it was a long time ago, right? Like, and not online. Like, actually mailing in your papers and your homework and all this stuff to the professors at the school. And she would go away for 3 weeks every summer, or 2 weeks, and work on her, like finish a couple classes quickly. And I remember being really proud of her, like just that she was working hard and that she was doing all this stuff for our family and for herself as well. So I think that, like, because you're balancing all these things, like your children are proud of you for doing what you're doing because you're their mom.
That's right.
And you're modeling.
Yeah, she worked really hard and did a great job when we graduated. She graduated college the year I graduated high school.
That's neat.
It was really cool. So, yeah, there's pride from kids from what their parents do.
So, what is something that you miss about your kids being little that you didn't think you would miss?
The rocking chair.
Drawing on the wall. The drawings on my painted walls. They're so cute.
I just miss them sitting on my lap and just cuddling in.
Snuggles.
Yeah.
Rolling into bed.
Yeah.
Mine still do, and they're big.
See, I wish
Flop
my
on the
mom
bed,
might
but that's
have
like,
lived
you're squishing me.
I didn't think I would miss it, but even just like doing the homework. I'm getting dinner ready, and they're sitting at the kitchen table working on their homework. And our table is this really soft wood, and their pencil, like I just remember,
Don't press so hard.
I think it was a spelling list, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want this." And so we got it. So there's all this like these words like in our table, and I decided let's get that table sanded down.
No.
It was heartbreaking. Like, why did I do that? But then they were still in the homework stage. So then we got new. But I missed the homework stage.
Yeah.
And just the dailiness of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dailiness is exhausting, but just the normal.
It
just
goes so fast.
the grind, even of just the daily driving around in the car.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I miss
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, carpool.
I know
Especially
you
with
spend
your
tons of
friends
time
and
in
stuff,
the car
yeah.
with your kids, but
Their
I'll
little,
spend a lot of time with my kids in your
their little voices and their innocent conversations.
Yes.
I miss that.
Yeah, when they say words all wrong.
oh, that's so true.
Like just
That's so
silly,
nice.
ridiculous things that they,
Can we have pancakes for breakfast?
Yeah, my one son called cupcakes puckcakes, and I thought that was like the funny.
Did any of you prolong the misspeaks? We still call permanent markers appropriate markers.
Yeah.
Because where are those appropriate markers?
Absolutely.
That's something you'll tell her boyfriend when he comes over at Thanksgiving one year. So do you have any appropriate markers?
No, she's going to be talking about Viking dinners.
That's right. Viking dinners with appropriate markers.
Yeah.
Those are not utensils.
So tips for handling the 2 and 3-year-old tantrums.
Ignore them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
The
a
top.
tantrum.
Just
Yeah.
make sure they're safe and can't
And
hurt
walk away.
themselves and walk away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happens in a public place, it is no reflection on you as a mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yes,
it
correct.
just let them do their thing, and who cares if people are looking at you? I just feel like it's part of them growing up.
Yeah.
Right. Don't feed the fire.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be doing it at like 10, well, they shouldn't be doing it at
Well,
10 or
when you
20
handle
or-
it, yeah.
They should.
And everyone looking at you has literally had the same thing happen to them, or they're not parents yet, so who cares? But
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So their opinion doesn't matter.
literally every parent has had that happen to them, that, out of control 2-year-old. So.
And there was a video, I can't remember, it was like on YouTube or where it was, but it was of this, a little tiny one, and somebody was videotaping, and every time the baby would go close to wherever the parent was, they'd scream.
I saw that. He'd throw himself back on the
Yes,
ground
and
and
then-
then walk
and then-
away and he'd be like,
I know, and then he'd follow. I
Yeah.
kept following, it
and
was
doing it
so
again.
funny.
And they'd walk away.
Yeah.
And then he'd get up and then
Right.
go back.
It's not working.
I know. It's not working.
And they figure out it doesn't work.
Yeah, don't let it work though.
Right, 'cause then they
Like
will
don't
be
give
10.
in to the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, now, right? Like they might throw a tantrum because you asked them to come brush their teeth or eat dinner or whatever it is, and then you still have to go through the thing that they threw the tantrum about. But if they're begging for something, and you say no, and they throw the tantrum, don't give in.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
give in.
Then you'll never
If you
get
give
rid
an
of
inch,
it.
you'll never get it back.
Yes.
It's true, because then they will be 10 and still having tantrums, and
Or
then
20.
16 and having tantrums.
And then maybe
That's
at
so
that point
true.
they will be looking at the parent.
Yeah, by then
Right.
they would. Right. And then they would have every right to.
Too funny.
And you are the parent, so
That's right.
be the parent.
Ignore
Yeah,
is the best
Mhm.
advice.
Exactly.
Just ride out the storm. It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
It can't go on
Because
forever.
they really
Shall
want your
pass.
attention,
Yeah.
basically.
If you'd like to stop now, we can go do this, but until you're done, nothing else is happening yet.
Yeah, that's it. For sure.
All right, here's everybody's favorite question.
Oh.
The sex, all the questions. Time, when, keeping it interesting. How do you get the energy after taking care of the kids? So, have at it.
Pin drop.
They make locks on the door for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, after they're in bed, just lock the door. Get a shower, relax, lock the door, light a few candles, and there you go.
And sometimes it's helpful to actually schedule it. I know it doesn't,
Yeah,
it's not
just gonna say
spontaneous, but schedule it. That way you're in the right mindset, like, you know what, tonight's the night, and he knows that, and you know that, and so you can, do what you need to do to get yourself in the mood.
And I think it also goes back to even the helping one another, thanking one another, because love making is just not always in bed. It starts much before that. So if you're holding on to, oh, you didn't empty the dishwasher for me, you're not going to want to go to bed with them. But if you start and you do these things all day long, then you're more wanting to be with them and they with you.
Right. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We have a little light in our room that we flip on.
I love this.
And I know I mentioned this last year, so you've heard this if you were last. But like
I'm ready light.
it's a light like that we don't normally
It's like your
use,
oven.
and if he'll flip it on in the morning, I'll be like, oh, okay, tonight's the night. Or if I'm in the mood. So I mean that just helps. It's just a little
That's funny.
communication tool, and I've
That
heard
the
other
kids
people
do not know what it
techniques.
is, right?
We have a pillow.
The kids don't know what
Yeah,
that light
but
is.
wait until
You have
later
a
on you
pillow?
tell
We
them.
have a pillow, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a throw pillow, but like the side that with the design is normal, but if you flip it over, wow, chicka, wow, it's ready to go. Yeah.
But that's such a low pressure way to
Yeah.
kind of kick it off. And
Yeah.
just
And I
to
mean,
kind
Rob
of
doesn't
make
flip
that
the pillow.
upper or
Rob doesn't really flip the pillow because Rob
It's
is
ready.
any night.
The pillow we always
Yeah.
have.
Right.
What about Sunday afternoon nap times?
Right.
I found this out.
Yeah.
Like I shave my legs.
Right.
Usually if I just say I shave my legs, that's enough. That's a sign.
Yeah, after church when the kids would go for a nap, we would always watch the Steeler game. So
Yeah.
that was a good time to do it. I felt like that was a nice time because it wasn't at night when I was
Too tired.
too tired. So that was a nice weekly time. Just in general, though, I feel it's like exercise, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't really want to do it. I'm going to get sweaty. I'm going to have to take a shower.
Again.
But then after you,
Yeah.
but like while you're doing it, you're like, oh, this is okay. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, I'm glad I did that. So,
Just like exercise.
right. Yeah.
Rob, if you're listening to this, we still love you, Rob.
just for that you get a special pillow flip.
Right.
She called you out.
Right. Well, he's heard me use that analogy before, and he's fine with it. But yeah.
I think it's a great idea to have something neutral like that as a way to just kind of make a signal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to feel. You put yourself out there for rejection, and you don't want that. You know, I'm sure not that and your husbands are doing that. So I personally think that anytime you you should have sex with your husband. And I know you're done being touched. We've laughed about this. By the end of the day, you're just stop touching me. Everybody back up. I need some personal space. But your spouse needs you so much, and we forget that so many messages are being thrown at them all day long throughout the world, and they need our intimate attention. And it is a bonding tool in your marriage, right? It is a really important part of your marriage, as much as you are tired at night or early in the morning, you don't want to wake up early, or you really do want to watch a Steelers game or something. It's just so important. It gets all the right hormones flowing that make you guys closer. He's happier to unload the dishwasher. He's so, I feel like my husband puts up with so much more of my silly nonsense things that I'm huffing and puffing about, variously, when you're agreeable to have sex. I just think it's you can't underestimate how important it is.
Exactly.
And you be the initiator.
And I think that
That's
we need it.
super
And it's-
important.
Yeah.
Because they want to be wanted.
Yeah, and I mean, even, and I think personally, I think it can feel like, this feels silly to be like, well, of course, you know, because you just have so many other things that you do during the day. But I feel like, yes, when you really want your spouse, when you really want your husband, when you feel really passionate towards them, and some of that is just going for it and just starting, because sometimes, you know, you don't feel like you're in the mood, but then it doesn't take long to be in the mood. It takes longer to argue about why you shouldn't have to do this.
To just
The whole event
just
could
do
be
it.
done and you're in the shower, you're moving on with your day, right? Like it's,
They're as happy
like,
as
it
can
sounds
be, yeah.
silly. And I love that Ron has laughed in the services about, that Pastor Ron has said, sometimes you go to the Capitol Grill for a really fancy dinner, but sometimes you're just going through the McDonald's drive-through, right? Like it's not, it doesn't have to be this huge monumental event.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about, you know, the time
They want
that
to
you
be
have.
our hunk of burning love. That's the bottom line.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's good.
Want to be wanted.
So yeah, but definitely be the one to initiate and see what that does to all these other questions that you've had about how do we juggle, how do we balance, how do we do all these things, how do I, you know, you build your marriage, how do you make a strong marriage? When you are initiating intimacy with your husband, I just feel like that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I do think, my husband, I'm sure most of our husbands are, you know, they're very acutely aware of the stress that we're under and how often we are touched during the day and just, you know, all the things that we have to do, that I do find that my husband feels bad to initiate because he knows what I'm going under. So that little pillow flip lets him know it's okay. Or, you know, sometimes I go crazy and initiate like you're talking about too. But I mean, I think it's very easy for my husband to not express how much he wants that because he knows what I'm dealing with day in and day out and doesn't want to add to it. But it is an important need that, you know, can't go unmet.
And they don't care about our little bit of jigglies.
No, they don't.
We care about it. They don't.
They don't
They
care.
just want to be with us. They.
Yeah, even on a day when you don't shave your legs.
Nobody
Nobody mind.
I saw this part in a movie that, you know, she said, I'm going to eat this cake. I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to not be healthy, but if I want something, I'm going to have it. Because have you ever had your partner say, oh, walk away? No, because they don't care. You know, just bring it on.
Yeah. It is so
And
important.
I think it's fair to even say my sleeping schedule is different. Like for John and I, he's late to bed, I go to bed early, and just communicate and say, can we start like at 9:30? You know, like 11 o'clock would be perfect for you, but I'm tired. By 11 o'clock, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, or maybe it's the other way around, but just verbalize it. And like, I am interested, really interested at 9:30. Not so much interested at 11:30. Right. And just, you know,
Tomorrow
get into
morning
your
I'll
different sheets.
shower you. I'll give you a scrub in the shower or whatever.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's the fun part. You know, like changing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's some fun to it.
Or
Yeah,
maybe, you know, giving them a note or a text or,
Yeah.
you know, something during the day too. That,
And it's enjoying each other, being able to laugh with one another. You can laugh in the bedroom too.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Take that pressure off.
yeah.
Definitely. What about
Especially if it makes you fall off the bed.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you just have to be open to, I mean, it is a really intimate thing. That's the whole point. So as far as keeping things like exciting and new, I mean, you have to be really open. You have to really be willing to be vulnerable and speak those things out loud sometimes, you know, and I think that sounds utterly terrifying to some people, but I think you have to be, it is a sign of that openness and connection, of really knowing one another and really like fully knowing and fully loving that person. And I think that's really an important aspect that you have you have to get comfortable with that. And if you're not comfortable with that, that's part of the difficulty of that intimate relationship. So you want to get help being able to be intimate. Like if that's a stumbling block in the marriage where you really don't want to be intimate, or you really don't trust opening up to that other, your spouse, then that's something that you want to get help with, I would think, too, from somebody who can, a counselor, somebody who's wise and can give you like good direction. Because other than that, you can.
I have heard that Christian women have the most satisfying sex out of everybody. Or
That's
Christian
a true
couples.
statistic.
Yeah.
Really?
But
Did
think
they
of
say
that
why
closeness.
that is?
Yeah.
Because of
I don't know
bond,
if
or?
they said why. I personally think you just have this covenant bond. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
And I just think after, Rob and I have been married almost 30 years, and you just really get to know each other's likes and dislikes, and it just only gets better every year.
It's true.
Because that closeness builds. And every time you're intimate together, it builds an intimacy when you're just walking around the house.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It starts
it builds.
Out of the bedroom.
I mean, that's not the starting point or the basis for anything, but all these things build together to make a really beautiful relationship that's deep and important. And
Especially if you've made it through a really difficult, like something, traumatic or whatever, you've gotten through that tragedy or conflict or, whatever it is, something you're dealing with your kids, and then you're able to, that's almost like a healing balm.
And I think that's true. I've read that that's actually true for a lot of men. I don't know that as many women always feel like that. It's much more common in men, like to have that as a healing, like that physical connection as part of a healing process of going through really hard times. That totally makes sense to me. And I do think that they do have the report better sexual satisfaction, because you do look at it as like, well, God gave you this as a tool for your marriage. That's why it's so important to keep it within that context of marriage and use it wisely there and not squander this gift, before you're married. It's like fire in the fireplace. I know I've said this to I think every group that I've been with. Fire in the fireplace is perfect. It's hot, you can hear the crackle, there's sounds, and it smells good, and there's all this great stuff. There's this wonderful heat. Fire in the middle of your living room floor is not good, right? That's dangerous. You'll burn the whole house down. And I think sex is like that. So we have to teach our kids that too, that's why it has the parameters that God's put around it. But we need to be the women who are really enjoying it and then being open about it,
What's the thing
to that
called
degree,
that you
together.
the fire, like
the bellows. Yes. So we should be the people, we should be the ones talking about this and being open and enjoying it and saying why it's so important to be, keep it sacred that way.
Absolutely.
And I really feel, I've never really verbalized this before, but I can sense God's pleasure. That when we're sharing in that kind of a way.
Right.
This is God's gift, and He takes pleasure in our pleasure. Which is actually very cool. Another thing too is I think talking about words, saying thank you or whatever throughout the day. Tell your husband, I love that John is really good with the chainsaw. I just think that's super cool. He's out there cutting down trees and stuff. To me, that's sexy. And so I tell him that.
That's what I see my husband water ski. You look so sexy out there skiing. I just want you to know that. You
Same.
look so sexy. You think
I
the
think
same.
he's 21.
Yeah,
He's out there on the water,
doing this,
like,
I'm like, oh, you look so hot, babe.
And they're dying to hear this from
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Because the problem is they people do, take it outside of their marriage when they don't feel that love and affection at home. And that's not to say that's a reason why they ought to. I'm saying it just happens, right? That is terrible. But our husbands need to be wanted by us, and they really need to know how much
And we
find
talked
them
about it.
attractive.
And we talked about it when we were dating. I'm like, dude, you're out there skiing. You're
Yeah.
like, woo!
you told me
You guys keep telling them that.
I think like Brandon Gretchen said, like, don't stop dating. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you said the same thing. Like, it's so important to maintain that because that's how you maintain that relationship. And then you do feel like a team when you go through all the other things that are happening. It just strengthens you a lot.
It's good to flirt.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So our craft for today, Laura's gone. So I'm in her place. Hi everybody, I'm Brandy. We're making these. They're called Boo Boo Bunnies. If you've been in Moms Together for years, maybe some of the mentor moms have made these before. I made this like probably, I don't know, like 7 years ago, and I have teenagers and we still use it. Like, it's so nice. Like these little little ice things, they're perfect for little fingers. And you can just put this in the freezer and then just take this out whenever you're ready for it, or put the whole thing if you want, whatever. Okay, let me show you what you have to do. There's a bag on your guys' table, and if you guys could all get, you're gonna need, take your wash rag, and you go from, you have to make it tight, but you're gonna roll from like this, corner down to the middle. Okay, you're gonna make it tight, and then you're gonna do this one up to it also. Okay, hang on, let me do it. I'm gonna put this down. Okay, guys. So once you guys have it, it'll look kind of like this. So you're gonna put this ice cube like in the middle here and kind of like wrap it like that. Do you see what I'm talking about? Everybody, yes? Okay. Okay, so if you want, like, so you're gonna, once you get this, you're just going to, hang on, I gotta tighten. Huh? Yeah, so you just take your wash rag, take it from corner to corner, or like to the middle, each corner, and roll it tightly as you can. Nope, you have to lay it flat. Can you do it again? I guess. Okay, here's your wash rag. Just take and roll this way, like all the way. So you're gonna take and roll all the way to the middle as tight as you can. You guys are also gonna have a rubber band and like a ribbon. I think she said to do everything afterwards. But so once you have like that little spot there, you can just like fold it back to here. I'm not that good at this showing you guys. I'm so sorry. But it's just gonna be like this little, hang on. I promise I'm gonna get this. Okay. So you're gonna just fold the ears back to where you have like this little like nugget here. This little round thing. Hang on. I'll put this on and then you guys can maybe see it better. Okay. So once it's like, this is not very like, it's not very tight or whatever, but like, do you see how, yes, that's it. If you have a better way of explaining it, we're welcome to. I'm gonna see this. Okay, so I can come around and help just to kind of show you better at your tables. You guys are going to use the pink for the tail. The eyes are in there. There's for the nose. Pink for the nose, white for the tail. There's ribbon. This is what it looks like. Okay, I'll put it right here.